Is your practice tired of wrestling with insurance denials, deciphering EOBs, and watching your revenue slip through the cracks? You are not alone. Welcome to The Claim Game, the podcast designed to cut through the confusion and provide you with the best practices for revenue cycle management success. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and we've been with people just like you in the trenches. Each week, we'll break down complex billing processes, share real-world solutions from practices like yours, and ask questions of the game makers and changers of healthcare so you can take control of your revenue. Let's turn those claim denials into deposits and help you return to focusing on patient care. It's time to win the claim game.
A lot of people probably don't know your story, but could you talk about when the practice burned to the ground?
Yeah.
Talk about taking time off.
Yeah, exactly. So, when I started my practice, like everyone else, it was, kind of a solopreneur doing my thing, and things were okay for a while. I was working with my fiance at the time, who's now my wife, Colleen, and things were fine. And now looking back, I know why they were fine. It was just me and her. I didn't have to take care of really anybody else. Right. And patients would come because of my reputation that I had up to that point, and family and friends. So things were fine. Well, then you start growing and you start hiring people. Well, I don't know the process of hiring. I just hire people and just go by gut instinct and intuition and all that other stuff, thinking people are going to do what I do, think like I do, show up when they're supposed to. And, it didn't happen like that. And, I get a little frustrated, but the place still got busier and busier. So I started to, hire people, even people that I was like, I don't think this is the right fit, but man, I need somebody. I need a therapist. I need a therapist now. I can't keep seeing everybody. So you start doing that. And that's what happened to me. And then that starts to trigger something. And for me, my anxiety triggered, I described it as a pit in my stomach, tightness in my jaw. Like that was every day, waking up at 2:00 in the morning with a sweat, kind of staring down the barrel of like another Monday. Like it was like the anxiety that I had. And when my place burned down a few years after I opened, it was a shock, but in a weird way, it was a relief. And people were like, how could that be a relief? And I said, it happened on a Sunday. I said, because I didn't have to go to work on Monday. And Monday was one of the best days of my life. Because it's like having a snow day, an unexpected snow day. Guess what, Jamey? There's no school. And that's what it felt like. And I started to contemplate, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I need to get out of being my own boss. Maybe I need to get out of the profession, because I had friends in other professions making money and they did not go through the level of schooling and sacrifice that I did. So I started to question all of it. You know how you just start to question it. You're like, what am I doing? I'm working 1,000,000 hours. I've been a therapist at the time for 9 years. I had my business for 4 years. Previous had another smaller business and stuff like that. I go, obviously, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Or maybe this is just the way it is. And of course, you look around, Jeremy, and everyone's bitching and complaining. So you start to believe this is the way it is. And I said, I don't care what anyone else is doing. This is not what I want my life to be. And, in all transparency, I did try to get out and I couldn't because I was locked into a lease and they were going to charge me no matter what. So we rebuilt the place. And at that moment, I made the decision, I am going to actually learn the business of physical therapy. And that's what I did. Honestly, I didn't think it was going to be that difficult. Well, I was wrong. My ego was too big to realize it was not going to be that difficult. It was really difficult for me because I was so conditioned to think a certain way, act a certain way, show up a certain way. I had an ego, I had pride, I had, sarcasm, all these great qualities that don't work well in building a team. It took me 9 years to actually achieve the one goal I wanted, which was just not to have to show up on Monday and everything be fine.
That's crazy.
And finally, in 9 years, I was like, take me off the schedule. And the front desk said, Jamey, you're not on the schedule. I go, no. Remove me from the EMR system. So it makes it impossible, even if I want you to schedule me, because I would do that all the time. You couldn't, because I wouldn't even be in the system. She says, okay. And that was 2013.
That's crazy. But that makes sense. That's kind of what you had to do, right? I remember at Group Practice Scaling Summit, you said around hiring, you said, I think this was the quote, I wrote it down because it was really funny. You said you were looking for somebody, a warm body with a pulse, and the pulse was optional. right? I mean, you just like,
Yeah, I was looking for a license and a pulse, and the
oh,
pulse.
license and a pulse. That's right. And the pulse is
Seriously,
optional.
if someone had a license, it was good enough for me. I don't really care. I just need someone that could bill. And that's so many people's mentality, because so many of us hire. I mean, right now it's a tough field to hire in any industry, right? There's a shortage across in any allied health industry, but we still hire based on desperation because we're not really clear who we're looking for, and we don't have any type of process. This is perfect, Jeremy. We don't have a process that slows us down. Look, the best business owners out there, entrepreneurs out there, are readers. You're a reader, I'm a reader. I'm sure so many people listening are readers. I guarantee you've read this somewhere that says, hire slow, fire fast.
Fast, that's right.
And we all do the exact opposite. We hire fast and we take forever to let someone go.
Yeah, that's right. Because our ego is so tied up into, I know how to pick them. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, you can tell on the first day. You can tell on the first day whether somebody's a good fit or not. And that's when you should make that decision as quickly as you can.
And remember, I had to look in the mirror with this, and someone pointed out saying, Jamey, you bitch and complain a lot about your team, back when things were tough. And I go, well, yeah, because they're like this and she's like this and he's like this. He goes, well, who hired them? I go, well, I did.
Whoops.
So why are you blaming them? You hired them based on whatever interview questions you had, based on whatever ad you had, based on whatever training and onboarding process you had. They're the way they should be based on you. And I was like, damn.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So I said, wait a minute, I can bring on better people, like more appropriate. Yeah, but you got to focus on how you think about the business, what your process is, what you're interviewing. How are you showing up for them? Do you show up with gratitude, or are you showing up with an attitude like, okay, well, if I'm going to pay you, you better do this, this, and this. And that took a lot of reflection, a lot of what Cal Newport calls deep work, right? Deep work. I mean, this is what it's about for me and so many other people. It's that when no one's looking, what kind of deep work are you doing? What kind of thoughtful stuff are you doing? How are you making yourself better behind the scenes? The whole Steph Curry, and I'm sure there's other athletes and, celebrities and stuff. It's what Steph Curry does behind the scenes that makes him so good when he's on the spotlight for that 1 second or 1 minute or whatever. It's like, how many people are putting in that type of effort behind the scenes to show up, when the camera
when
is
it
on.
matters. Yeah.
You get paid in public what you practice in private. How many of us are students of what we're doing? Not clinical students, business owning students. Well, I talk to a lot of people, Jeremy. Unfortunately, it's not many.
No, it's
not.
not.
What's interesting, it's probably the same percentage of the people that could really honestly say they have a successful business and life. Because to me, they go together. You can have a financially successful business, but if you're working 70 hours a week grinding and it's not producing the life that you want, to me, that's only one part of success. That's not true success.
Yeah, what's success? What's success, Jamey?
Well, to me, it's about, yes, part of it's financial. To me, it's about health and wellness and well-being. It's about having the freedom of time to do what I want, to have the freedom of relationships. Like, I get to have the relationships that I want. I'm not stuck in a place where relationships are forced upon me. So having that freedom, having that choice, to me, is what it's ultimately about. Again, for me, that's what it's about. I think I would also add in there a level of contribution. I feel good when I feel like I'm making an impact, but not just making an impact out of guilt, which so many of us feel, but making an impact doing what I love to do. So I'm selfishly doing what I love, but it's making an impact on others as well. That's hard for a lot of people to get. A lot of times we feel like we have to struggle in order for something to be successful versus why can't you just do what you love to do, but it benefits someone else as well.
I mean, that's the whole idea, right? Of like business is a miracle in that sense, right? Like we get to work together for mutual gain, right? How is that played out in coaching, right? Because you're doing executive coaching now, or are you just training coaches who coach? Yeah.
Well, this is interesting. So I fought my two sides of myself. I fought that for so many years. I fought the Jamey loves coaching. I work on it every single day, trying to get better and better and better. Like 10,000 hours to be a master. I'm well over 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm fighting but Jamey, if you're going to have a scalable business, you can't trap yourself in the business like we teach. So I'm constantly fighting those two sides. And what I realized is, and my coach, I have a coach for the last 9 years, Walt said, Jamey, you really like coaching. I said, yeah, it gives you energy. It just makes you feel better. People love it too. He goes, well, why don't you take on a handful of clients? It's not going to affect you building your company. But man, you're going back and forth and driving yourself crazy. So what happened was, this was 4 or 5 years ago. I was saying about two clients. And I said, you know what? Fine. I will be open. I just put it out in the universe. I will be open to handling maybe 4 more clients, keep it at 5 or 6 clients. Within 3 months, I had 4 more clients. I didn't quite double my rates, but it was close. They happily paid, and it was fantastic. But most of them, I'm, still working with.
That's amazing.
So,
yeah.
And I hired additional coaches and all. So I don't think it's an either or. I think it just depends on what lights you up. Coaching lights me up. I realize I'm never going to stop doing it. I love it. Am I going to take on 20 clients? No, that will harm the business. Yeah. But right now I have 7 clients. I love it.
You're feeling great about it.
I love working with them. And let's face it, I have 5 other coaches. 5 other coaches. I'm hiring 2 more. They're fantastic. We meet once a month at a coach meeting. We meet one-on-one, just a quick one-on-one, 20 minutes, half hour, once a month. And then I have my 7 clients that I meet with every other week. So that's basically 3.5 clients every week. I mean,
but like,
it's not terrible.
No, it's not terrible. But do you feel like the meetings you have with your coaches is like coaching? So it's like you're coaching your team and you're coaching your coaching clients.
I love coaching. I love coaching.
Yeah.
So that was what dawned on me. It's like, Jamey, you can coach coaches and you can help them create a coaching business under the Practice Freedom U umbrella. And I just keep on my couple of people. Did I learn that design? Did I take a course or a program? But no, I just started asking questions. And this is the same thing we do with our clients. Be careful about, well, what are the best practices? Because if you ever notice how best practices are done, it's what predominantly the people are doing. It doesn't actually say my definition, which is, yeah, but is it also producing the life that they want, the money that they want? Or is it just the most people are doing it? Because if the most people are doing it, and we know from a fact that a lot of people just aren't surviving in this world right now, and it's going to get harder and harder, you better be careful about the best practices you're learning. Just blaze your own path. And to me, this is what having someone else to help you, guide you in doing that, help you create that plan, hold you accountable, and guide you in doing that. This is how I got into this whole profession. It was accidental. Because when I went to kind of remove myself from the day-to-day of my practice in 2013, I shared my story on a webinar, first webinar I ever did. 3 people reached out to me and said, can you help me? And I said, I don't know. I've never done that before. And that's how it started.
No, that's crazy. So you still had the clinic, right? Well, let's go back a little bit. So the clinic burns to the ground on a Sunday. You don't go to work Monday. Good day for you. You realize you have to
work for the next 3.5 months.
Right. Well, there you go. So then you realize you have to be a business owner. That's much harder than you expected. Anybody who says it's easy is lying to you. It's not easy. So then what do you do? So you have to rebuild the clinic. Obviously, you had to like renovate and new equipment.
Yeah.
And
so
all
I rebuilt the clinic, and I started to invest in coaches and programs and books. I read a few books here and there, but I really started going all in. I said, I want to go all in. So I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars. I didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I just said, look, to me, it's a line item on the spreadsheet. I am going to invest money every year, whether it's a book, whether it's a course, whether it's a mastermind, whether I'm going to a conference, whether it's a private coach. I'm going to do that. Now, certain things I liked more than others, but I want to experience what that's like. And then all of a sudden you start to figure out some things. It didn't come from like one magical place. It just started to make sense on areas. And what's great about us owning business, when you start to kind of really get into the world of, I'm going to really understand the business of my business, is you're playing in real time. You're not investing $200,000 in school to graduate and hopefully get a job and then figure out whether school was worth it. Like, I'm applying this stuff in real time. And what the good news is, I didn't think it was good news at the time, is I'm really slow and I make really bad decisions. So I learned a hell of a lot because I made so many mistakes that I would say 2 out of every 10 things I did were actually semi-successful. 8 out of every 10, I was just screwing things up. And it caused so many other problems. The fire was the least of my problems. I mean, we're talking about being investigated by the Department of Labor. We're talking about having a clinical director being arrested at your clinic, and you're on the 5 o'clock news when your sister-in-law texts you and says, Jamey, are you going to jail? And I didn't know what she was talking about because I wasn't even there, because my clinical director improperly touched someone during a free consultation. And then I got drawn into the Maryland Board of Examiners, and I was asked 156 questions by the investigator, just as this is what we're supposed to do. And I couldn't even answer most of his questions because they were all about what? HR policies, systems and processes. And I go, I don't have any of this. He goes, Jamey, that's great, but ignorance doesn't fly when you have a business. Guess what? I learned about that stuff. That's how I learned about it. I learned about it. I hired an HR consultant. I hired a CFO, a fractional CFO before it was called that. I started to look at my business as a business, not just a Jamey Show. So, that's when I really started to be like, wow, if I'm stuck in the business day in and day out, I'm missing the bigger picture of what my responsibility is for. So that's when I tell people, quote, work less and make more. What I'm saying is, if you have a business, and again, it depends what size you are, but if you have a business, especially if your business is over 800,000 to $1 million in gross revenue, collected revenues, you better be removing yourself from the day to day. I'm telling you, you are positioning yourself for a problem, a big problem. Because if I wasn't stuck in the day to day, because I was at a different location when that happened, and I was actually seeing the business, I would have helped put in the systems in place. I would have had if you're a male doing a free consultation on a female, the door does not get shut. The door is open, or you do it out in the open. There are so many things I look back now that are so obvious and simple. Dude, you don't know what you don't know.
Well, it's not obvious.
That almost cost me everything.
Wow. Well, I didn't even know about that story, but yeah, I mean, running a business sort of is like managing money, right? It's not obvious, and you can fail for sure. So you learned a lot, and it sounds like you invested a lot in training and education, and that was a big part of how you got the clinic successful. So yeah, you had a lot of bumps in the road. So it sounds like you got through the DOL thing, the investigation, you got through the clinic burning down.
Well, the investigation by the Department of Labor was because I hired an office manager she was an office manager. She had all the bells and whistles. I don't know what the heck office managers do and all that stuff. Well, she said, hey, I'm going to give these people comp time. You ever heard of comp time?
No, well, yeah. But explain
if you work a little extra hours, then it's just comp time. So if you work a couple extra hours, we'll give you another hour or 2 off, so it all evens out.
Sure.
Made sense to me. Well, guess what? That's illegal. You can't do that. So I had an employee that she let go. I liked her, but she let go, who went to the Department of Labor. I wouldn't even know who to call. I would never think of going to the Department of Labor. Well, she did. That person, Detective Yu, called me, and I hung up on her because I didn't believe her. So I said, look, it was on a Friday. I said, Jeremy, you'll love this. It was like 4 o'clock on a Friday. I said, Detective, I am sure it's you, but with all the calls we get and spam, can you just shoot me an email? 5 minutes later, shoot me an email. I'm like, damn.
Which is legit.
How do they know about me? Got on the phone, talked about it. Of course, I played the old, I don't know. She goes, Jamey, ignorance isn't a reason. It's just, sorry. And I said, all right. As I did with everything that I screwed up in, I said, all right, tell me what I got to learn. Tell me what I got to do.
Dang.
Well, you're going to have to go back because we just switched over to an electronic payroll. Remember, there wasn't electronic payroll around like there is now. So we were doing things by hand. Well, nobody was signing their payroll sub, which you're supposed to do. Half the things were in my basement all over the place. I was pulling all these things out. They said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Every person you hired in the last 3 years that worked for you was a non-exempt, no, exempt employee, whatever, the non-professional people. I always get that confused. You're going to pay them whatever thing they calculated. People that didn't work for me for 2 years, I had to send them a packet that says, hey, this is what's happening. For me to make it right, I need to pay you this money. Can you sign and let me write you a check?
Whoa.
That was, about $10,000, $15,000 that I didn't have.
Whoa.
She said, you do that and everyone signs off and you have to give me all the packets back and you fix your stuff. We will drop the case.
Whoa.
That's how I learned about payroll. So I learned about HR, payroll, systems, processes, CFOs. This is how I learned about everything because I literally just refused to step my game up.
Wow.
You know what I refer to it now, Jamey? Look, when I'm talking to people on the phone, sometimes I'll just be like, do you want to be a pro or an amateur? What do you want to do here? Because if you want to be an amateur, that's fine. There's lots of great amateurs out there in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I go, but if you want to be a pro, if you want to be a master at this business you are in, then you got to step it up. All of us have that choice. That's what's beautiful about being a business owner. We have the choice to step it up and to create the business that we want. But it ain't just going to magically happen. It's not going to magically happen because you purchase some tool or you download something that says 30 patients in 30 seconds. And it's not going to happen. It's going to happen with you changing how you operate. You have to change your own operating system. And if you do, I guarantee you'll be successful in all avenues because there was no reason I should have been any level of success. I couldn't have done this worse. So
I mean, it sounds like you have some scars, man, to share for sure. But I'm sure it made you a lot better. Now I have
learning stories, Jeremy.
Learning stories. I love it.
Every lesson in our life has a price. Some are just more expensive than others.
Oh, that's good. That's great. This episode is brought to you by Jane, a practice management software and EMR built to support you in the day-to-day work of running your practice. If you're a health or wellness practitioner, you already know the care you provide starts well before your client arrives and extends far beyond the treatment room. Jane is there to support you in every part of that experience. With online booking, your clients can book at a time that works for them. And with features like notifications, they'll even be able to grab last-minute openings when they pop up. It's an easy way to keep your schedule full while getting your clients the care they need. During your appointment, Jane's AI-powered documentation feature can help you thoughtfully take notes so you can stay present with the person in front of you. And after appointments, you can end your time together on a healing note, not a transactional one, by charging the card on file. To learn more about how Jane can support you and your clients, head to jane.app/demo. And one last thing, if you're ready to get started with Jane, you can use my code in the show notes for a 1-month grace period on your new account. Now, I know the end of this story, but how does this all end? I mean, did you have to shut it down in disgrace because of an investigation, or how did it end?
It ended like all the other ones ended. I didn't screw it up enough that I was arrested. I didn't screw it up enough that I was shut down. I had ego and pride a long time ago, right? Because I got beaten. But I said, look, I can look at this as one of two things. I can blame my front desk person from going there, or I can show gratitude. And by the way, my office manager wasn't there anymore. So this was all after that. I realized she was an absolute idiot. So I had to let her go, but I didn't know what she did prior to that. So you know what? I just looked at it all as these are lessons. I said, it's another lesson, Jamey. And I go to my wife. She goes, what the heck is going on? I go, honey, it's another lesson I'm going to learn. It's another lesson I need to learn. That's how I looked at it. So you can choose an attitude of gratitude, or you could choose an attitude of just blaming and being a victim. It's your choice. I used to do the latter, but then I started choosing the former and said, I'm just going to learn from this experience. And I did. And finally, that was one of the last big things. The arrest thing happened before that one. That was one of the last things. And then things started to click afterwards. So in the next couple of years, things really started to click. Maybe the old saying is, when the student is ready, the teacher will come.
Yeah.
I think I was finally ready as the student after 7 or 8 years. And then things started to move. We had another location. We hired additional people. I put in a clinical director. I put in a legitimate office manager. I had a marketing person. And I just started backing myself out of this day-to-day stuff, realizing that they were totally competent people, that all they needed from me is support, training, guidance, and all that. And then I needed to look at what was out there in the world and prepare them and protect them and do all that. And that's what I did.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you were talking about being in the day-to-day is like, you've talked about this too, like being an expert provider is quietly sabotaging your ability to scale the team. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've
I
talked
mean,
about that a
you
lot.
can be an expert clinician, an expert provider. That's fine. But you can't be that at the expense of not being a professional in the business. Because
Yeah.
if you're not going to be a professional in the business, but you want to grow your business, then you are going to write big checks to people that can do that. And you can do that. Most of us don't have those checks to do it. And we don't have the competence to hire the right person because we don't have that experience yet. So bigger companies, they're at such an advantage because they got deeper pockets and they have deeper insight. So we're never trying to compete with those bigger companies. We're just trying to create the thing that we want to create. We have to take responsibility. Jeremy, that's what it comes down to. It's just taking ownership, taking responsibility for oneself. Just focus on you, just like we tell our kids.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
Don't
Mitzi.
worry.
You focus on you. Just
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
want to jump off the bridge, you don't want to jump off the bridge.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right. Yeah.
it all goes back to like kindergarten advice.
Yeah. That's so
Maybe
true.
that's the next book.
No, yeah.
Kindergarten advice.
Kindergarten advice. Yeah. Or for you, it'd be like, it's always something, I feel like would be the title of the book.
Well, I mean, that book, I'm sure that book's already written. It's,
Yeah.
I would put probably an expletive. It's always effing something.
There you go.
And just share like 16 different stories of what happened in a 7-year period.
Yeah. Let's go back to something you said. You said, do you want to be an amateur or professional? And you've also talked about your 80% rule, which is why accepting good enough is actually key to reaching elite profitability. Can you talk about the difference between, do you know what I'm talking about?
Pareto's principle, which is the 80-20 rule. I mean, you can divide that even more so and make it the 16-4 rule, but it's been, or 24 rule. But basically, if you look at your business and you look at your time and you can look at your patients, I would imagine 20% of your effort is producing 80% of the results you have in your business on some level, if you break it down. And I would say 20% of the clients you have right now, Jeremy, in your business are probably producing either, and you won't have to admit this, 80% of the problems, the headaches, the calls, yeah, I got a quick question. I'm just going to guess. It's going to be that. So if you look at it from how we spend our time, the idea is to shift to 20% of the things that are producing the greatest impact in your business. Shift to 20% upwards. How do you do that? Yeah. Well, you need space, you need time. Well, look at your calendar, look at all the activities you're doing and tasks you're doing on your calendar, and choose the one. You don't want to choose the ones you like that give you energy, that are revenue producing. Choose the ones you don't like, that aren't producing significant for you, that are actually just draining your energy. Let those go to someone that actually likes doing those. See, we think when we delegate something we don't like, and I've had lots of conversations with people, we inherently think that if we don't like it, Jeremy, the other person doesn't like it either. I mean, that's how crazy our egos are sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's true. We do billing, man. I mean, so like we do the thing that practice owners really hate doing, but we love it. So,
and you love it.
We love it.
And so many practice owners don't like doing it, and yet they still do it because they have a control issue. They don't want to let go. They have a history issue. I did that one time and it didn't work. Or they have a, fear of loss. I don't want to pay for that. Not looking at the tens of thousands of dollars they're losing by not having a professional like you said, loves doing that. Just find people who love doing the things you don't, and you will create the most wildly successful and fun business ever.
Yeah, because then you're working with people who are like in their sweet spot. They're in the pocket.
And that's what my goal is every day. I've been doing this for the last 10, 12 years. I wake up and my goal is, Jamey, all I want to do today, and I don't do 100%, I'm not that unrealistic. I want to focus on 95% of the stuff today that I love to do. It's almost cheating. Yeah. In my book, I called it the unfair advantage.
It's almost cheating.
I called it the unfair advantage, Jeremy.
That is an unfair advantage. Yeah.
It's cheating when you actually do things that seem easy to others. And to you, it's just like, because it's just what you're built for. And here's the other thing, and I'm sure you can attest to this. Just because you're naturally good at it doesn't make you not work at getting better. Sure. It actually does the opposite. You're excited to get better. So think about that. You have two people. One person is doing an activity that they say, I don't mind doing it. I don't mind doing billing. It's not the fun, but I don't mind it. And then there's you. Not only do I not mind, I love it. And I'm continuing to learn the best tips and tricks and ideas and efficiencies and technology. Do you think the person that is just looking at this as, I don't mind, you think they're doing any of that?
No way.
So the longer they stay in doing that activity, bigger the problem and the more it's costing them. And as business owners, too many times we don't see that.
Yeah, that's right.
We just see our little window.
Yeah, that's
right. So if someone's not using what you're offering with the reason of, I think I could do it myself, which I think that's crazy. Or the bigger reason is, I don't want to pay for it. You really have to ask yourself, am I saying that because of my own ego and pride and my issue with money and all that? Is that helping me become really a professional business owner? Or is that the old wiring and the old thinking that needs to be upgraded? Because that's all this is. This is about upgrading one's thinking about how they see their business, where they are in their business, and how they solve problems. Because at the end of the day, a mentor told me, Jamey, we wake up every day and solve problems. That's what we do for a living.
That's
so
awesome.
I said, good. Just stop solving the same freaking problem.
Yeah.
You have problems with billing. How about we just solve the billing problem instead of just having the same problem to solve? Jamey, I'm having difficulty hiring. Well, how about we just solve that? We're not making any money in our business. How about we just solve that instead of having the same problem again and again and again?
Yeah, like actually fix it.
And the hard part in doing that is it's not an external problem.
Talk more about that. Yeah, talk more about that being an internal problem.
So when I look at kind of the structure of a business, I try to simplify things. I look at it in three different parts. There's the structure of the business, the systems and the processes and the organizational chart and the people, a lot of the tools and technology. That's the structure of the business. That's the wood, the nails, the siding, the roof. That's what that is. And there has to be structure of a business. If you don't have structure, it ain't much of a business. The next part of it is this business has to have a profitable financial model. That means it needs to have positive KPIs, positive cash flow, a solid profit margin. So that's the model, the financial model. So there's structure in the financial model. If you do that, you're going to be pretty good. But that doesn't guarantee really anything. There's a third part that very rarely gets talked about. And that's the part that I realized personally was like the missing factor for me, because I knew all the structure stuff of a business. I knew all of that. I learned all of that. And I understood profitability and I understood KPIs. And yet I still struggled. And it was the third part that was the key, mindset. You can call it leadership, how an owner thinks, however you want to call it. It's the internal stuff that we have. And there's three parts to that. One, control, the fear of letting go. Two, identity, how we see ourselves, how we think of ourselves. And three, probably the biggest one, limited beliefs, things we believe that do not serve us. We all have belief issues. Not everyone believes the same stuff. And you're not necessarily wrong or right. I always say, is the belief you have creating the life you want or the business you want? If it's not, then it's limited. So how do we upgrade how you think? Where did that belief start from? So that's a lot of the deeper work we get into, but it's not therapy because there's a structure to that, right? There isn't just we're talking about time. We're building a structure. But if we don't focus on the owner as the leader and address the stuff that's affecting their ability to hire people or build their team or create profitability or expand or whatever it is, then we're missing, I believe, the most important piece to those three areas of structure, model, mindset.
Structure, model, mindset. So how do you upgrade? I mean, you asked that question just now, like that process. What's the process you take people to upgrade mindset?
Well, I think mindset, that's a great question. Mindset itself is how we think about stuff. I call it the power formula. How we think, how we handle our emotional triggers, right? Business is all emotion, leads to how we make decisions about things. Decisions lead to actions. Actions lead to results. So the results are based on decisions. Results are based on how we think about a problem. You and I are facing a problem. I think about it differently. That leads me to a different solution. You think about it another way. That leads you to another solution. My business is just eking by. Your business, you're not in the day-to-day and you're making $500,000 a year. Do you have access to information that I don't? Not anymore.
Yeah,
You did.
probably not anymore.
You
That's
did.
right.
You had to pay people, pay gurus to get the secret information. Not anymore. With the internet, with Google, and now with AI, your little AI guy here has anything you want. You have to prompt it though. So it's only going to give you what you're kind of asking. But it has anything that you want. So information is free and information is abundant. So that's not the problem. So if that's not the problem, and by the way, that same AI can handle a lot of your financials for you too. I was talking at the summit to Nate. I said, Nate, how are you kind of figuring out the AI? Someone can take their P&L statement that AI actually uploads, put in AI and say, give me a report of what the P&L shows me and what I should do about it. And they will take every bookkeeper and every accountant in the world and make it and give you the exact advice you should do. So that's not an advantage anymore. So what's the only advantage left is us, how we handle all of this. Some people are going all in with AI. Some people are staying away. What's the difference? Well, some people think differently about AI in their business.
It's very true.
Some people think differently about hiring you in your company. Other people think differently and don't hire you in your company. Not bad or good, but is it giving them the business that they want, the money and the income that they want to create the life? And my guess is people with you have a much greater chance of achieving that. Not 100%, because there's a lot of other decisions they're making. But if they think like, I believe I should be focusing on the things that I do extremely well, that's going to give me a multiple increase in my business. And I'm going to search for people that love doing the things that they do well. And I'm just going to make sure that I have a recruiting and hiring and interview process that practically ensures that from happening. So I'm going to spend my time, I'm going to block out time, and I'm going to create that. Everyone could do what I just said. And if you did, your business would absolutely exponentially transform.
That's a great piece of advice.
But not everyone will, because we are habitual creatures. We're born, we have the formative years, we have lots of schooling. That schooling reinforces things with us. And we make decisions, we do things without even really recognizing why we even do this in the first place, because we weren't born like this. Someone conditioned us to think this way. I know we're going kind of crazy deep here.
Yeah.
This is the place that I went to. When I'm sitting there in a room and we're all just talking about, Jamey, why do you think the way you think? Why do you think you have issues with money? Why do, when someone says, whatever amount it was, $1,000, $5,000. Do you think you're not worth $5,000 to work with someone? Of course I am. Have you ever asked someone for it? No, I don't know if they'll pay it. I don't know if they'll pay it. That's not your problem though. Your problem isn't whether they pay it or not. Your focus is showing up and showing the value and believing you're worth it. And then practicing how to communicate that in the moment. Why don't you just focus on what you're capable of doing and not worrying about whatever someone else is going to do or not do? So I'm going through this kind of like mindset upgrade of, man, all this stuff that I'm doing, that I'm having struggles with, these are things that influences taught me. Other professors taught me. People growing up taught me. But can I change this? Can I upgrade my own thinking? And the answer goes, hell yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Can you imagine iOS 3 operating right now in iOS 17?
No. Yeah, I mean,
it couldn't. It would be all over the place. Well, that's what's happening.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We're operating on an old system in a new world, and it's not working. I mean, God, if it was working, there'd be so many more people just really doing well. And you and I both know, we go to the conferences, no matter what industry you're in, there's just too many damn people struggling. And yet there's not a lack of people that need your help. So you tell me the riddle on that.
Yeah.
There's infinitely more people in this world that need what you do, that you are an absolute expert on, than actually do what you do. So what's the problem? The same as the solution. It's you.
Yeah, it's you. I love that. Well, Jamey, you have a lot to offer. How do people get more Jamey in their life?
You can follow me. You can go to Practice Freedom U. You can follow me on my blog. You can reach out on LinkedIn at Jamey Schrier. Talk and do all kinds of stuff. If you'd like to, talk more about your business, especially if you're a business like, 800,000 or more, those are the people we tend to work best with. But we don't We don't say no to the people that are below that. If they have the right mindset, we're all in. But a lot of times, if you have a larger business, group practice, or what have you, there's challenges you're having that's not just solved with, more advice.
A widget there's no Instagram reel that's going to help you out.
Yeah, there's no Instagram reel. It's a different level. And that's really what executive coaching is about. You could just reach out to me. I'm sure you'll have the link on there.
Yep.
We can have a conversation and see if it's something that we can help you with. And if not, then that's okay. If it is, then...
Yeah, let me ask you this, Jamey. If I spend $1,000 with you on coaching, just as a round number, as an example, what your clients, what do they usually see? What do they usually get back?
Should.
Or I guess, what is the range that you've seen your clients get back?
I'll give you some pretty incredible stories. So there was someone I worked with in the group practice field. I've shared a little bit about this, and she's okay that I share this. I won't say her name though. She was doing pretty well. Like financially, she was doing okay. She was probably... if we're looking at EBITDA, I don't think she was maybe several $100,000. So EBITDA wise, so whatever million shit she was doing, if it was like 20%, so you just multiply that by. So, but she was maybe doing 3-4 million or whatever. And she came to me, and I said, "Wow, you're doing pretty well." She goes, "Jamey, I get 300 emails a day." I go, "I can't keep this up. I work till 2 a.m." And I said, "Okay." So what was the first thing we had to do, Jeremy? The first thing we had to do is, why are you getting 300 emails a day? Because my thought was, if your emails go down, your energy will go up, your income will go up. We worked together for a little less than 3 years. She sold her business for $26.5 million.
That's crazy.
How much did she pay me? Less than $100,000.
Wow.
I don't know.
There you go.
I think it was worth it.
Yes, I do.
Another client we had, and again, there's a lot of people getting a lot of different results. Another client I had in the physical therapy world, he started with me at $600,000 with our team. He was working with other coaches. And then he kept growing, and then him and I started working together the last couple of years. And he ended up doing 1.5 million in EBITDA. And then he got a crazy multiple and sold for like 13.1 million. And we've done that, I've done that probably 18 times with practices that want to sell. But the great stories that I love, and those are just really cool stories, but the stories that I always love is someone that is they just tightened up everything. They just got themselves out of the day-to-day. They're spending more time with their family. They got a great team that they love. I'll give you a perfect example. Working with someone right now, I've been working with him several years. Started with me, cash-based, private pay. Started with me 5-7 patients a week. What he was, Jeremy, is an amazing student. He just, whatever I suggested, whatever we talked about, he just kept leaning in. Checked his ego at the door. He has just 2 locations. The way he positioned his business, he just took his entire staff and their significant others to Mexico. He just showed me a picture, which I love. I go, you better send me a picture. And it's everyone on the beach. They're all wearing shirts. He got him shirts. He said, Jamey, this was my dream. I always wanted to take my team, all expenses paid. I don't know what it cost him, but...
No, it doesn't matter. It was an intangible. I mean, yeah, that's awesome.
He didn't
Well,
care.
Jamey, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being generous with so much of your time. And we can't wait to share links to your resources and for more people to break out of their mindset. So this is great. We'll have to have you on another time to talk about things you're excited about, how you're using AI. There's probably a million more questions we could have asked you, but thank you so much for doing this.
I appreciate it, Jeremy. Thank you, man.
If you enjoyed today's episode of The Claim Game, please take a moment to leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps new listeners to find us. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to The Claim Game on your favorite podcast app. Your feedback means so much to us. We want to provide valuable education about revenue cycle management. So if there's something we didn't cover in our topic that was a burning question for you, please let us know so we can try to get you the information you desire. You can find the links to all resources we mentioned in this episode in the show notes. And if you want to dive deeper into our resources, we have 2 places you can do that. First, you can go to our blog at practicesol.com/blog, where we have 8 years of educational blogs. If you want to learn more about what Practice Solutions does, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Just go to practicesol.com to learn more and to connect with one of our awesome people on our team. Thanks for listening. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and this is The Claim Game. see you at the game table next time.